Actually, I want to start Perek Shvi.
I don't think it's on.
Is it there?
There.
Because I want to move along before the end of the season here. So Perek Shvi, again, the Tomer Devorah is going in order of the Spheros. So let's just review Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes. We're up to Tiferes. Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes. Always represented by Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Avraham was Chesed, everybody knows. Yitzchak was Gevurah. Spoke last week or at the beginning of the week about the Akedah, between that the necessary bonding that had to take place between Avram and Yitzchak, which is the bonding between Chesed and Gevurah, Ava and Yira. On a deeper level, the Chesed is like if you imagine water. So Chesed is the hispashtus, something which is an actual something which is moving along. The Dvar Hashem, and Gevurah is the nukva of it, which is the container. So it's interesting that that's called Gevurah, but it takes more Gevurah to contain something than it does to give something. Like to contain something is kinetic, like it's to contain something requires Ezo Gibor Akoivesh is Yitzrei. Like to contain something is if you're taking to take water flowing, you have millions and millions of gallons of water, but to contain it in a vessel, that's Gevurah, not letting it go out of that vessel. So that's Gevurah.
Stop Niagara Falls.
Stop Niagara Falls. Yeah, go ahead. So there, hence Gevurah is the kli. You think even in the biological model. So like the chesed part of it, the male part of it, not very hard. But to contain that and to build it and to create a child with it and the tsari leda, etc. Like that's already like a big thing, right? One takes a minute, one takes months and months and years. So it's like a whole different. So hence the midas hanukva is Gevurah. It's also like the rainfall. I keep on saying this, that there isn't a part of the bria which is not a good mashal, because zehu abriya. Every part of the bria is the same thing. Whether you're talking about Niagara Falls, as you say, or rain, or electricity, or biology, or you take any matter of science or physics, there always has to be a zachar and a nekeva. That's the way it is. So, and then there's Tiferes. So Tiferes, what's now? You have the Chesed, you have the Gevurah, and then you have Tiferes. So Tiferes, just Pashup Shat, Tiferes is not just a perfect harmony and balance of Chesed and Gevurah, but when Chesed and Gevurah, Avram and Yitzchak, let's say, are perfectly bound, you get Yaakov, which is perfection. Titin Emes Yaakov. The Emes, everybody knows, is Aleph and Tov together in the Mem. Like it's Kolo, the whole thing. Anything radical, anything extreme, is usually not Emes, because you have to take from Chesed and Gevurah, and it has to come to Tiferes. You can have a lot of Chesed that's extreme, the Hispashtus, Yishmael, the extreme of Avram Avinu. It's actually not a good thing. You could have Yitzchak. What would be the extreme of Yitzchak? Esav. And everyone's noted to that extreme, right? There's a natiyah to that extreme. In other words, Yitzchak's midas, kilu midah Esav. He's going in the derech of Gevurah, and he has to be pulled back to Yaakov. So Yaakov is this perfect homogenation of Chesed and Gevurah. So when you talk about Tiferes, I'm not trying to understand even what I'm saying, but I'm just telling you what I'm saying. That Tiferes is not a mixture of Chesed and Gevurah. It's a whole new thing. When Chesed and Gevurah come out, there's a whole new chemical reaction here, a spiritual reaction called Tiferes, which is something which is big. The way I understood, the way I was taught by my Rebbe, is that it's like if you're listening to, let's say you're playing the guitar and I'm playing the flute. Okay, so we're listening to the guitar and the flute. If you listen to a symphony, so you're not hearing, the oboe and the trumpets and the guitar. You're hearing a symphony. It's something different. I believe that the art of listening to a symphony, not that I have any idea, but the art of listening to a symphony is to hear the whole gestalt of the thing. In other words, to hear how it all comes together. It's not about, whoa, he's doing good on that oboe there. He's really sharp on the harp. The pshat is that how the whole idea of a symphony is that how it comes together with such perfection. The whole idea of being the orchestra leader is to be able to bring it all together. So hence you have so that's Tiferes. So Tiferes also, by the way, means beauty, because that's a beautiful thing. But what's important to understand about all this, therefore what? What's important to understand about it is that in the Brias Ha'olam Gufa, so it goes in this order. It goes in the higher Olamas. It goes Chachma and Bina, Keser Chachma and Bina. But in the world that we understand, the Bria Gufa is created Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes until Natzach Hod Yesod, until you get to Malchus. The whole purpose of the Brias Ha'olam is to get to Malchus. And this is what the Tomer Devorah is going to talk about here. If you don't get to Malchus,
what's the purpose?
There's no purpose. The whole thing that Hashem created the world. I always mention this, that if you look in the Kabbalist forum, so I usually get up to page 5. I'm also, if you look in the Kabbalah, Eitz Chaim, Ramchal, Arizal, Chaim Vital, Tanya. If you look in the Kabbalist forum, they're all busy with the same problem at the beginning: is why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu create the world? And the answer is for Malchus. The answer is whatever lashon you want to use. Yellow Dira B'Tachtonim. The Mishkan, the Beis Hamikdash, Yana D'Yoima is a place of Dira B'Tachtonim. Maybe every time we do something great, like a marriage, that's Chesed and Gevurah. So it's all about coming to Malchus. So the importance of Chesed and Gevurah and Tiferes and Netzach and Hod and Yesod and Malchus is that it comes to Malchus. Do you understand what I'm saying? In other words, there's no importance in that has to be the Seder HaBriya, and therefore that has to be the Seder of our life. That's the Nakuta here. Olive oil. Let me show you the Gemara. The Gemara says, Gemara at the end of Brachos. I used to go to, not because I'm a Beit Shemesh, but I used to go to Rav Moshe Shapiro Shiurim. Well, thank you. So I'm usually not so afraid to talk, but I was always afraid to talk in his shiur, because if you say one word wrong, laser beams cut you down. But so I could remember almost every time I said something. But anyway, so he made a comment that the Gemara in Brachos Nun Ches which is all Agadata, and that's where we're learning Brachos at the end. He says it's not even mentioned in the Ein Yaakov at all. Like Ein Yaakov is a compilation of the Agadatas of Shas, but Brachos Nun Ches is not there. It goes from Nun Zayen to a little bit of it is there, Nun Zayen to Nun Tes. It skips most of the Gemaras on Nun Ches. So I pointed out that it's not missing from the Ein Yaakov, but for some reason the Ein Yaakov put it on page Samach Gimel, Shloi Bim Koimai. So it's very interesting. So you have Samach Aleph, Samach Aleph, Samach Beis, and then Nun Ches, and then Samach Gimel. Oh. So if looks would burn, I would be French fried. You're very upset with me.
You said it right.
I said right, but that's even worse than saying something wrong.
Wrong.
All right. I learned a lot from him. But actually the subject here, but I'll tell you why it's a subject. But anyway, so the Gemara says, and Nun Ches, which is in the Ein Yaakov Samach Gimel, the Gemara says, whole story, but it says, B'masnisa Tana Mishmei de Rabbi Akiva. Then in the Mishnah it says, in the name of Rabbi Akiva, L'cha Hashem HaGedula. By the way, the reason I knew this is because I gave up on making at one time I tried to make a siyum on Shas every year, and it was very difficult. I was staying up all night, it was crazy, I gotta say. So I decided to make a siyum on Ein Yaakov every year. So that's what I do, a siyum on Ein Yaakov every year. So that's why I knew that it wasn't the wrong place. So Rabbi Akiva says, Ba'asnisa Tana Mishmei de Rabbi Akiva, L'cha Hashem HaGedula Zu Kriyas Yamsuf. There's a pasuk in Divrei Yamim. The pasuk in Divrei Yamim, which we know, when we take the Sefer Torah, L'cha Hashem HaGedula V'Gvura V'Tiferes V'Netzach V'Hoy. So there you have the spheres, like that we're all saying, Hashem HaGedula, right? We're all singing the Kabbalistic spheres, saying that we have no kasher to it. So it's a pasuk in Divrei Yamim. So what does the pasuk mean? So Rabbi Akiva says, L'cha Hashem HaGedula. Where do we see Gedula? Zu Kriyas Yamsuf. Let's analyze it in a minute. HaGevura. Where do you see Hashem's Gevura? Zu, says Rabbi Akiva, Makas B'chayros. V'Tiferes Zu Matan Torah. V'Hanetzach Zu Yerushalayim. You think Torah was Netzach? No. Netzach is Yerushalayim. Ve'ahoid is what? Zubinyan Beis Hamikdash, says the Gemara, Yehi Ratzon She'ibana B'meir V'yameinu. Beautiful Gemara. Here we are, Erev Rosh Chodesh Av. So, what is Rabbi Akiva saying? What he's saying is that there is a Hishtalshelus in the Brias Ha'olam. And it starts with, obviously, Hashem created the world. But the action started happening by Yetzias Mitzrayim. Meaning, like everything, it's like the Gemara says that you have 2,000 years of Tohu Vavohu, and then 2,000 years of Torah, and then 2,000 years of Yemais Mashiach. So what does that mean, 2,000 years of Tohu? There's a Brias Ha'olam, there's no more Tohu Vavohu. Ha'olam, why is it Tohu Vavohu? But why is it Tohu Vavohu? The answer is that the Tohu Vavohu is, yes, we went out of Tohu Vavohu into the world, but then there's a process here of 2,000 years where civilization is created, and countries are divided, and tools are invented, and etc. There was a trial and error in the time of the Mabul until we got to Avram Avinu, almost there, 1948, to the 2000, to Yitzchak, to Yaakov. When was the 2,000 years of Torah? When was the 2,000 years over? When Avram Avinu discovered HaKadosh Baruch Hu at the age of 52 years old. So that's when the action happened. And from there, we moved on. We went to Mitzrayim. We became a people. Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. We became a people in Mitzrayim, ironically, not in Eretz Yisrael. Not, in Mitzrayim is where we became a people. We have to think about Egypt in a different way. That's where we were born, in Egypt. Where we grew up was in the desert. And then we came to Eretz Yisrael to retire, for the next couple thousand years. But the reason for that is because this is the Hishtalshelus of the Spheros. So Rabbi Akiva is teaching here. It's so important. Rabbi Akiva living, at the time of the Chorban. Rabbi Akiva says, L'cha Hashem HaGedula Zu Kriyas Yamsuf. So why is that Kriyas Yamsuf? Why is that Gedula? Let's just think Pashat of Shah. What do you say?
It's a change in the Bria.
So here's the Bria. But now all of a sudden the Bria is being manipulated for Klal Yisrael. The Bria is the Bria. It took 2,000 years, let's say, to get it going, to get it what it is. And now when you can use it when you can manipulate it, when you change it, that means control over the Bria. So that's the Gedula. The Gedula is, here's your Bria for you. So L'cha Hashem HaGedula, v'HaGevura Zu Makas B'chayros. And let's focus on what we want to focus on. V'Gevura Zu Makas B'chayros, v'Tiferes Zu Matan Torah. So you had the chesed of Kriyas Yam Suf. You had the gevura of Makas B'chayres, clearly gevura. Okay, here we are. So the bria was manipulated, chesed. The Makas B'chayres, gevura. For what? For Tiferes. The whole thing was to come to Tiferes. So the way to, which is Matan Torah, the way to understand it is that in Hashem creating the world, it has to go. There's an order. There's a seder over here, and the seder, the seder of the whole thing, of first of all becoming a people, and the whole Bria Olam, it all was culminated in Matan Torah Tiferes. That was a culmination. Tiferes means a culmination of everything. So Chesed, Gevura comes together in Matan Torah. So Matan Torah is Tiferes, meaning we're going from a high place to a low place. And now we can take the Torah and we can go Netzach. Once we have the Torah, Netzach zu Yerushalayim, next stop. Hoyd zu Binyan Beis HaMikdash. It's all about bringing the Shechina from a high place to a low place, which is the purpose of the world. So what I started off saying is that what the Mekubalim are always busy with was why the world. The world is for Malchus. It's not even for Chesed, Gvura, and Tiferes. But until you have Chesed, Gvura, and then Tiferes, you can't possibly get to Malchus. Let's understand a little bit deeper, or a little bit clearer, maybe. That if we don't think about this in esoteric terms, think about it in very real terms. Like, what are we saying when we talk about Matan Torah? It's a type you hear since you're a little kid. We hear it and never like.
It's a plan. It's a plan. Now we got to implement.
Even more than that, Hashem is talking to us. like the most. I heard this in a speech from my 12-year-old granddaughter at her bas mitzvah. She said the most amazing pasuk in the Torah is Vayidaber Hashem al Moshe.
Good, the musician.
Is that what he said?
The very musician he would pass out when they said it.
Oh, all right. I just quoted my granddaughter. Vayidaber Hashem al Moshe. I mean, think about it. It's like okay, there's the Shabbai. We could be big philosophers. There's the Shabbai, infinity. There's the world. Vayidaber Hashem al Moshe. That this and this should connect and be instructive. It tells us to plan. It's just that's really the most mind-boggling part of everything. I mean, the whole Bria this is where the Devar Hashem meets the earth, and that's Tiferes. As long as you're splitting the Yam Suf and killing the B'charis, Hashem is controlling the world. When you're talking to us, communicating, so the whole essence of Judaism, probably every religion at some point, but they all came from us anyway, but the whole essence of it is that Hashem spoke to man. Nevuah. If you're on board with everything but Nevuah, you're missing the main thing. Like Nevuah, that we were all Nevi'im at Har Sinai, that Moshe Rabbeinu was Makabel the Torah. I mean, this is just, that's Tiferes. It all comes together because the whole purpose of the world is Malchus. It all comes together when Hashem actually talks to us. All the higher spheres come into the lower spheres, and wow, and then He talks to us. It's like an amazing thing. So that's Torah. If you want to define Torah, this is the HaKadosh Baruch Hu talking, and not only that, but Moshe Rabbeinu spoke to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, peh el peh, kimedaber ish o re'ehu. Actually, conversation. So it was like it was dusi tree. It was like it was a two-way road. The unbelievable connection. This is the point of connection between Shemayim va'aretz is here on Matan Torah. So Matan Torah is Gevaldik. Now, but it's not the end. Now what? Now bring that Tiferes to Netzach zu Yerushalayim Hoyd zu Yerushalayim. I'm sorry, Netzach zu Yerushalayim Hoyd zu Binyan Beis HaMikdash. Netzach Hoyd. Now what happens to Yesod and Malchus? Yiratzin Sheyivana B'Mheir of Yameinu. The Gemara ends there.
So why do we?
What happens to Yesod and Malchus?
It's not Dayenu. What will be the purpose of the whole world?
What Dayenu by what?
Each of those things along the way.
Ilu Nasa, Mano Asatera.
It's not Dayenu. I mean, we have to. Then you wouldn't have the world be. What was the person creating the world?
The way to translate Dayenu is that would already be amazing.
Oh. Amazing.
That's the way to. So amazing, but if it doesn't bring the Shekhinah down to the Aretz, you're right. At the end, lo Dayenu lo klum, nothing happened. It's like ilu keravnu lifnei Sinai v'lo nasan lano satar Dayenu. What's Dayenu? Just amazing. Jews should get together. Nothing happens. But then something happened. So it's all about bringing it high to low, which is. So what happens to Yesod and Malchus? This is already the work of Mashiach ben Yosef, Yesod, and Mashiach ben David is Malchus. So it's all ready for us. We're all there. So when we're Osek in Torah, here's the new thing. It's not about learning something new or understanding. It's about pushing along the process of the Bria, getting us to Yerushalayim, getting us to the Beis Hamikdash. It's all about moving the process forward. That's what Limud HaTorah is. So if you just look here at the Tomer Devorah for a minute, let's do that. What does it mean to be a Tiferesnik? A Tiferesnik. I was reading in something Rav Soloveitchik, Shalom wrote. So he writes that the world is he coins a term. He says the world is full of againstniks. What does it mean to be an againstnik? So he speaks about more in philosophical terms than Kabbalistic terms, but like the whole Bria is trying to happen. That's what he says, and there are those that are against. So he says you got to be careful not to be against it because you're stopping pride. Well, some people like that, like anything you tell them, I'm against. You don't even finish telling them, they're already against it. It's just like, it's like that Brisker story, like two people sitting next to each other in a bus, and one says, "No, let me hear Dvar Torah. You say, and I'll slug you up." it's already, very sluggish. But the very sluggish, I guess he was an against it. Okay. Saru's a little sato. So he says as follows: Ein suffix, no question. Shemidas ha-tiferes hi asik b'Torah. Tiferes ain't suffix. Why is it ain't suffix? Because the Gemara says in Brachos Nun Ches, ain't suffix that Tiferes is learning Torah. Not in Torah, so Tiferes. Abnam, however, tzarech zihirus, not however, but therefore, tzarech zihirus gadol, shelo yiskaya adam b'divrei Torah, shelo yigraim ra gedola sharei kamosh umiskaya kach gorim shemidas hatiferes she'atera tiskaya v'tisalek lamalach chas v'shalom. Okay, you read it quickly and superficially. Don't be a bagaiva. Understand deeply over here that the whole purpose of Torah is to bring something from a high place to a low place. The whole purpose of Torah is to bring something infinite to the world of the finite. It's to bring it down. Hence, if a person learns Torah in an elitist fashion, it's not just like you're bagaiva, like sort of means you're an againstnik. You're defying the whole purpose of Limud HaTorah, because the whole purpose of Limud HaTorah is to bring it from a high place to a low place. You understand? That's the essence of Torah.
That's how different it is.
For sure, but even before you get to that, I mean, the whole thing is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who's Lamala Min HaSeichel, giving us something which are Seichel. Lamala Min HaChachma, giving us something which is Chachma, something we can read, we can learn, So we're handling here the infinite in a finite world. So it's not by accident. It's not by accident that Moshe Rabbeinu was the Anav Mikol Adam. It's in fact the Baral in Tiferes Yisrael. Get it? Tiferes Yisrael. Now Agdama explains why he calls it Tiferes Yisrael. So what the Maral talks about is that we weren't holding by a mountain Torah, by Avram Avinu, by Yitzchak. You need to come to this level of anivos. He says two things there. You have to have a tzibur to be makabel, but you have to have the level of anivos. So Moshe Rabbeinu it's all about pushing it forward. In order to push things forward, it can't be in an ivory tower. Even Hashem said to him, "Stay up on Har Sinai. I'll learn with you. This is good. You're my Chaver." No, what's the purpose of it if I'm not going to learn with Torah? And he was immediately makabel from Yisro. When Yisro told him, like, you can't do this yourself. You're right. Let's down. And later on, when by the Shivim Zakenim, so Vayotzal. What is Vayotzal? Vayotzal min haruach asher olav. It's all about passing it down. So let's say one would be a physicist. So if you learn physics, it's not all about passing it down. Just learn physics, Adarabah, stay in the ivory tower and know physics. Maybe you could learn physics lishma. You don't even have to invent anything or do anything. You're better off. We wouldn't have a nuclear bomb and everything. Just keep it to yourself, your physics. What's the? But there's not like some kind of an obligation to even a moral obligation that I must teach my mathematics to use some. But with us, it's all v'shinantam levanecha v'dibartam. It's all about passing it over to the next generation. Torah is all about teaching it to the next generation. Why? For the same reason that in order for Moshe to be makabel the Torah, it had to be not about himself. He had to be the Moshe Anav Mikol Adam, because he and we are all just conduits to the next stage, and bringing the Shechina from a Makam Maila to a Makam Namuch. So on this the Gemara quotes a pasuk, Hoy Kol Tzamei L'chul L'mayim, that just like water comes from a high place to a low place, but of course it's deeper than that. The purpose of the water coming from a high place to a low place is that it can irrigate the soil, and when the plant grows because of this, then you have malchus. If somebody's going to stand there with a big container and collect all the water, so what's the point? Hold the water for yourself. The whole water has to come from the earth, and then Moshe Rabbeinu took it a step further. Tizal ketal imrosi, that the Amir of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, has to be like tal. It's actually starting to grow from the tal. Is always considered coming from the ground. I don't know how it works, but it's always, as opposed to Geshem. Geshem is from a high place to a low place. Tal is coming up. It's a tal comes up. Tal har. It's mishmani mitala shamayim, but it's tal har. It's all coming up. So it's all about coming in this direction of moving down. So comes the Tomer Devorah, and he says that if you are misgoeh with divrei Torah, if like that's, we have to really question our own history and thinking about this. But if you're misgoeh, if you have a gaiva divrei Torah, not only like you're about gaiva, that's terrible, but you're defeating the entire purpose of the mountain Torah. So like it gives, it's cute in Shulchan Aruch. It says that anybody who's a Baal Gaiva, like you're walking with your nose up, the Shulchan Aruch says, so you're doichik raglei hashchina. Like it's a cute image, like you're pushing away the shchina. But what it means is, take the cuteness away. What it means is that the shchina is, the whole purpose of the bria is that the shchina should be shora in this world. We are just agents. We are created. We're like malachim, we're just agents created to help this happen. So the minute somebody keeps the Torah for themselves, so they're keeping the Shekhinah for themselves, they're not allowing it to irrigate the earth and for the earth to become the Malchus Hashem. So you got to be very careful at this toggle point of Torah that there can't be any gaiva at all. So what does that mean, like in terms of even in the times of the Gemara, like anybody who's not Toichei Kabara can't come into the Beis Medrash.
How did they justify that?
So they justified it because otherwise the Torah would be corrupt. So there's this very fine balance between not holding back Torah, but you see that as soon as Rabbi Gamliel left, so the Gemara says that the Beis Medrash filled up the Chol Shadaita. What was the Chol Shadaita? Manati Torah b'Yisrael. That what was I doing? Was this the right thing or was this the wrong thing? I'm not. The Litvish Derech is always to be quite elitist. I think about Torah. Not sure exactly why. And then lately, the Chassidish Derech became even more elitist in a way.
So is that the kind of
I don't know. I don't know what that is, but I mean, I know that there's a balance between, this idea of people having to try to get in, and I can't get in, and
It's also like how much, not being too controversial, maybe that it's within the halls of wherever it is, and not necessarily being spread, outside.
right. So you got to wonder. I'm not a guddle that I can. You gotta. I said to somebody the other day, I said if I would be a guddle, then I would have. These are the things that I would do. So one of the things I do probably is, for a certain age bracket, get rid of the whole idea of shidduchim and make singles events. The person told me you'd be a guddle for exactly an hour. I mean, like the other thing, I mean, just having to deal every day with the schools and calling them and getting this kid and that kid, and it's like, I'm not saying I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm just they don't have room, but it's all genuine, But there's just something wrong with the whole. I think another thing wrong with this person, with that person, with this school, that school. There's something wrong with the whole system. Like we're supposed to want people to learn Torah. So if you're out of town in some place, I don't know, my father always used to stand on the corner outside of when I was a kid, stand on the corner outside of the JCC, begging parents to send their kids to the Jewish school. Begging them, come, I'll pay your tuition. You never money, we didn't have any food now. Paying their tuition, I can pay their tuition. There's no reason not to do it. But I just remember it was to stand there like a little kid, what do you want to go to school with the Schwarzer? Anything. You'd say anything just to get the people to get their kids to go to the school. So that's where. Isn't that the way it's supposed to be? Tizal Katal Lim Rassi, it's coming from a high place to a level. We're supposed to be doing this. We're supposed to.
He was talking to the apathetic. He was talking to the apathetic.
He wasn't very effective, I must say. But the fact is, I remember when I came here.
You don't know.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
I'm saying that if a child could walk down the street and be impressed by that somebody wanted so much, what am I missing?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I was impressed. So that's one thing that came out of it. But I'm not criticizing Chas v'Shalom. These are people that I hold to be great. But I remember when my eldest son wanted to go to Brisk, so I went to Brisk. So usually you get a chance of getting into Brisk if your father went to Brisk. So I came to Eretz Yisrael and I went to speak to the Rosh Yeshiva of Brisk, and I reminded him who I was. And I said, my son wants to come to Brisk. He doesn't like me when I come to Brisk. So he said to me, before we even talked, it wasn't anything personal, I didn't take it personally. He said to me, he says, "You have to verstehen that I'm not playing games with you. I genuinely don't want your son here in my yeshiva." So what does that mean? You don't even know him. So he said, "I don't want anybody in my yeshiva." He says, it's just an achrayus. He says, when I take somebody into the yeshiva, it's an achrayus. I have to take care of them. I have to make sure. I don't want the achrayus. People come to me. So I said, "Why do you have a yeshiva?" I asked him, "Why do you have a yeshiva?" So he says, "Because if somebody comes and says, 'Teach me Torah,' you're not allowed to say no." So I got all mixed up, which reminded me of when I learned there. I was always all mixed up, which is why I left. But it's a very interesting. What I'm saying is, for us, I'm not understanding Gedolim completely, but what I'm saying is the pashtus advarav is that at least from a Kabbalistic or a spheroid point of view, everything can't stick with us. It has to go further. You have to push it along. So whatever Torah you learn is gewaldic, give it over. You don't have banacha, elu talmidim, but you have to give it over. If you don't give it over, then we're not fulfilling our responsibility.
And that's the joy of it also.
It's for sure the joy of it, but the opposite of this is called, and this is the chiddush of the Tomer Devorah, the opposite of this is called gaiva. It's a chiddush. Machzik toiva la'atzmai. So the beautiful ritva. Machzik toiva la'atzmai means a person, says in Perek the Memches Dvarm, Teradictus, that he's not a machzik toiva la'atzmai. So what's a machzik toiva la'atzmai? Means he doesn't give himself a lot of credit, right? Machzik toiva la'atzmai. But I think it's the ritva who says that machzik toiva la'atzmai keeps the toiva la'atzmai for himself. Like a beautiful beautiful seer. He keeps the Torah for himself. What do you keep it for yourself for? So the Gemara says if you know how to paskin and you don't paskin, I mean, bad thing if you don't know how to paskin, do paskin. That's the first thing. But if you know how to paskin and you don't paskin, you're machzik toivel latzma, right? You're what are you holding it for yourself? It's a big oynish on somebody who's not willing. I don't want. You have to be able to give it further. By the way, I took my son into Tiferes. It was just no. I'm just saying, like at the end, he does teach thousands and thousands of people Torah. But it's just there's this kind of a Litvish idea of being very careful, like this Rabbi Gamliel idea of being very careful as to who the Torah is going to go through. That it shouldn't lose, it shouldn't get watered down. But even though the Torah is mayim, so somehow there has to be a balance there. But you see, Moshe Rabbeinu gave it to a lower level, right? Yisrael told him, give it to a lower level, gave it to a lower level. So it's not by accident that Moshe Rabbeinu was the Onav Mikol Adam. That was what it took, says the Maharal, to be the Mekabel HaTorah. Or to put it succinctly, everything I just said, to put it in one sentence, in order to be Mekabel Torah, you have to be a Noisei HaTorah. The Vark is you're at the end of the food chain. So once you're Mekabel something, there's an obligation to give it further.
So his usage of gaiva here is different to what we would normally understand.
That's right.
With everything as well. So it's not pride, whatever. It's keeping it, sort of not transferring it to.
Right. And why is that called gaiva?
Because it's machzik total latzma. It's just
selfish.
I think it's only for me.
Selfish. But selfish is not gaiva. So there's this feeling, achrayis, but there's this feeling that you're not right. I think that's the gaiva. Like, I'm right to have this Torah, you're really not right to have this Torah.
It's imperialistic.
Right. It's like the same type of thing that we none of us like to delegate. Like you're not going to do as good of a job as me. There's all these things, like I'm afraid to let it. You can see Moshe Rabbeinu being afraid to let it, go out of his hands, and we're afraid of this. But this is the way. This is the derech ha'olam.
He said the opposite. He said they should all be nevi'im.
Halavai, yeah. But you see that there was an againstnik there. What he well done or may done, misnavim b'machna, what's going on? Halavai, halavai. Let it all come down. It was a different. So that was the honor of Mikol Adam, that he didn't hold it for himself. Peseder, like who am I already? Who am I already that I should have the Torah? You have to be this kind of an honor, not like, wow, look what I am. How can I give it to you? Who am I? Anachnu ma. So let's just do the, so this it's so this is counterintuitive. I just want to make sure we get the point that what we're talking about here is A, the mitzvah of learning Torah, but B, more important than the mitzvah per se of learning Torah, the Zohar he brings here on the bottom of mine. He says this very succinct. The Pardes Rimonim is also sefer written by the Ramat, a harder sefer. So he says like this. He says, Yesh Torah. Listen to these words. Yesh Torah b'chachma. We're talking about the midos of Hashem, the sefiros. Yesh Torah b'chachma, u'michachma ne'etzallah. The same word that it says by Moshe Rabbeinu of Vayatzal min haruach. So michachma ne'etzallah ha-Torah dahainu ha-Tiferes. So from means the higher spheros. There's a netzal. The highest world is called Atzilus, right? Atzilus, Bria, Yitzira, Asiya. The highest world is Atzilus. Atzilus is not about, that's a high world. Atzilus is about Netzal. This is the what's the word? The radiator, like the thing which is giving off the beams. That's what Atzilus means.
Lahatzil something is to delegate.
Is it? Is it? By the way, when you say somebody's Atzili in modern Hebrew, it means like they're very high. But it's Atzili actually means that they're a makar of high stuff, giving it down to lower stuff. So here's the thing: we all have to be oisik and midas hatiferes. Eich yargol adamatzu midas hatiferes, by not having any gaiva, and whatever we have, giving it, making sure that the flow stays. That's our tachlis, to keep the water flowing. And if not, and here's another. Let me just finish the Pardes Project. I'm doing so many things at once. There's Emash Amr Chazal b'Bereishis Rabbah Noiv Leis Chachma Shilamala Torah. That Torah actually starts in a higher world. We all know that the Zohar says that thousands of generations before the Bria Olam there was already Torah. But what it means is, here's the very important thing. that Torah, like Torah, mamash, the words of Torah, Elul, Torah, he shemoisav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lashon of Chazal. They are the shemoisav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, so, it says ish. How is that the shemoisav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu? The yishta. Where is that the shemoisav? We understand, Hashem is the shem of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yud-Kei Vav-Kei Elokim. What does it mean, shemoisav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu? So I explained a number of times that the oisius of the Torah. What does it mean, a shame of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? It means that this is the manifestation of the infinite into the finite world. When we talk about Midas HaChesed, Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, Midas HaDin, Elokim, etc. These are shemoisav of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, meaning this is where the infinite, which we can't imagine, becomes studyable in this world. So the whole Aleph Beis, the whole Chaf Beis Oisius, are the beginning of the articulation of Gashmius in a finite way, which were brought from the infinite. We don't understand that Simpson, that exchange. It's too hard for me to understand. Like, how does something infinite become finite? But I don't know where that happens, like in that exchange place. But it happens. The fact is, we're here, right? We're talking.
Hashem gives us that mushroom with exactly the same thing. It's not possible for another person to really know who I am, but they can say Shmuel, and they can connect to that point. It's a connection point.
Right, so there's like a toggle. It's a good mushroom, but it's not, doesn't help you understand it, right? But there's a connection point, exactly. Pnei Hashem. Lirois Pnei Hashem. Pnei Hashem. So this is the Torah. It's called Torah. It's Torah in the world of Chachma, in the world of Bina, in the world. It's all Torah. It's all about the Brias HaOlam. What Hashem's doing otherwise, I have no idea. We're not privy to. But like one of the projects of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is creating this world, the universe, and here you have Chachma, Bina. It's all Torah. Why is it all Torah? Why is it all Shemoisav Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu? It's all about taking this infinite thing and bringing it into a finite world and therefore getting it down to Malchus. So let's just read the whole paragraph before we break up here. Ein Safi Shemidas HaTiferes Hi Ha'esek B'Torah. Amnam Sarach Zehiras Gadol Shlo Yisgoy Adam B'Divrei Torah. So Achshav Musbar, what Makesher? Shlo Yigraim Ra Gedoyla, because you'll actually be doing an injustice for the entire world if you're a Balgaivan Torah. Sharei Kamay Shehum Miskoya. Listen to this. Just to the degree that we are Miskoya. Kach Goyrem Shemidas HaTiferes. The Midas HaTiferes, which is finally here's the Torah coming into this world. Tizal Katal Limros is dripping into this world. Shehi HaTorah Tiskoeh. You're the Balabais on Torah. So now the Torah is Tiskoeh, but Tisalek Lamalo, you pushed it back up. Hashem's giving us Torah, pushing it back up. Doichek Pnei Hashchina. Kol HaMiskah, Doichek Pnei Hashchina. Utisalek Lamalo Chas V'Shalom. Ella. What then? Kol hamashpil atzmai b'divrei Torah. You know, the word mashpil is a word. There's a word mashpia, right? If you're in the more Hasidic world, there's a word mashpia. So, like mashpia, what does it mean actually? What does it actually mean? Shipua. So, like a shipua hagat, right? Like this, like the roof. Like the roof is thatched, is that the word? Where the rain comes and it falls down the roof. It goes to a lower place. So like that's is that thatched or is that? I don't think that's a thatched.
Thatch.
What?
Thatch means
Thatch is flat.
thatch means stroke. Yeah.
No, but it's a shape also. It has to do with the
material.
Gabled.
gabled. Okay, so that doesn't. But the idea is that it has to. So mashpia is somebody who's like this roof that I'm taking something from a high place and it's kind of like flows off of me into the lower places, and hence the world exists. The Malchus is coming. So he says over here, I want to show you. So the Goyrem El HaTiferes Shetered, you're causing the Tiferes to go down. V'tashbel atzma lahashpia. What's the next word in your book? Lamalchus. So I have another gear set here. It says Lamalchus also. Some of it says Lamata. It's a mistake. This is the original Tomer Devorah, Lamalchus. The whole idea is that it should all come to Malchus. That's the nikud of everything. So we have to keep in mind here. It's such an important thing to keep in mind. 9 days. I think this is like mamish the avodah. It's all about Malchus. It's all about Malchus. It's all about anivus and Torah and making the world more godly. That's the whole thing. When we say Shchinta Begalusa, means you push the Shechina Chas v'Shalom away from the earth. Chorban Beis Hamikdash, push the Shechina away from the world. Sinas Shechina, you're not allowing the tzibur to come together to be a full keli, to be makabel the Shechina, which is the Torah, into this world. It's all about not letting the Torah hit ground. Yisoid, Malchus, that's what it's all about. So if we don't have the Shechina, we have nothing. I mean, there's no purpose. The whole thing is, it's all temporary. We're all here just to create it's not the Beis HaMikdash, the building, but the Shechina. Mishkan is the same thing. Shochen, Shechina. Mishkan means Lashon Shechina. It's all about having the Shechina in this world. If you have the Shechina, everything you have is right. And you have Malchus Shochai. Kablu Kulam is all Malchus Echa. So we have to see ourselves as these roofs, these, whatever they're called, gabled roofs. What's the name of the city? The lowest place in Florida, almost at almost in Cuba.
Key West.
Key West.
90 miles to Cuba.
90 miles to Cuba. So yes, I went to tell you a quick story. I went to Key West because I was beside around there. I went to Key West for the day, and they have this little train that takes you around Key West. The big deal there is to watch the sunset or the sunrise, because for some reason the curvature of the earth.
Green flash at sunset. The green flash at sunset.
Yeah. Oh, you're Key West here. Yeah. So anyways, we're going on this little train he's showing us. So he said that the original settlers in Key West, I think, came from Holland. I think it was, and they built the city hall there, the same derech as the city hall, and I think it was Holland. I think it was Holland. And they said it's all built like this, and it's all copper, and copper gets very hot. And the reason they did this, like in Holland, is because there was a lack of water. But when it would snow, so the snow would melt on the hot tin roof, and it would go down, and they would have water. So they brought that whole derech over here to the West. So from the back of the train, I said, "Hey, it doesn't snow in Key West. What's the purpose?" He says, "I'm driving this train here for 7 years. Nobody ever asked me." It doesn't snow in Key West. Right, it slung up the whole city hall there. Against it. Okay.